Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And how are you all this evening?
Oh, doing okay, but I just feel drained out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the heat. I keep drinking water and oh,
Yeah, these days are a bit like that in terms of feeling drained and stuff. Because I know for some of us, a lot of things are happening. So that could also be a reason why you might be feeling like that. And how was everyone's week this week?
it was nice.
Okay.
Had an opportunity to go back and find some old projects
Mm-hmm.
and to get interested in some new projects. I started following well, I don't even know who it is, but the information is very befitment like. So I listened to that and looking forward to this week because this week brings me a little closer to a nice little get together I want to have later down in the month. So
Okay. Understood. Understood. Anyone else? How was your week this week? All right. So I hope that silence means that it was a good week. Gillis, are you there?
Definitely.
How was your week this week?
My week was more on the normal side. I
Hmm.
was hoping to win the lotto, but that didn't happen. But I'm still keeping my hopes up, and this week is going to be better.
Okay.
did it go up, Gillis, or did it stay at 15 million?
I didn't really check it, but I didn't win it.
All right. So, all right. So I guess everybody is okay. So leading off of last week's topic, which was becoming the author of your own story, because a lot of times when you decide, okay, let me maintain focus, let me ensure that I could become more resilient, what ends up happening is that a lot of things tend to hit you all at once. So that is why for tonight's topic, which is seeing yourself clearly during chaos. Has anyone been experiencing chaos lately?
And sometimes things happening, but you're not too sure it's chaos full blown yet. But you're just feeling like you might be on the edge of something. There's some projects that I've really invested in, and so I want to, I don't want to name it because if I name it, the it might really show up. But from past experiences, when it showed up, I have a tendency to slow down
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of chaos, where my things get a little sharper, and as though you could see all the steps lined up, which is not the same as when I have a lot of time to think things over and to look at things 45 different ways. So, but that is seeing the next step. But the question is seeing yourself. So I don't think that I ever really stopped to observe myself during chaos, except to know that I tend to slow down. and you could almost see what is supposed to come next. And then afterwards, I tend to fall apart. That's the when everything that has to be done is done, then you will find I get sort of drained away. Or then I might focus on how I was feeling at the time.
Okay, understood, understood. Anyone else? And the question is, have you been experiencing chaos lately? Or what tends to feel like chaos? And I know for Catherine, whereas she would say that she would tend to slow down, for a lot of us, we tend to move with the chaos. So when there is chaos, we also become more chaotic. So even within that, there is even more confusion, even more stress, even more feelings of overwhelm. So how do you function within chaos?
Right. I
You
think
know,
for me, it's really putting the tools in place and a lot of self-talk, because now things pop up in your head and it's like, okay, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't think this way. Whereas before it was just like everything run loose, your thoughts, everything run loose. But I feel now, at least for myself, I'm able to reel it in and kind of, not, sometimes it's not like you could stop it, or you could, but I mean, it's you calm it down, a lot more than I was able to before.
Okay. Well, Catherine, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
yes, as I was coming to the end of my last answer, a thought came that chaos isn't always something catastrophic, something negative. It could be just something that is changing, something that's transitioning, something that's unfamiliar, something that's new. And then I sat here and I said, but your answer directed itself to something tragic, something negative that you don't like. Or whereas it could also be just transitioning, which then causes me to, for me, in that kind of definition, I I am better at it now, but that represents change, and where you have to rely on something you're not familiar with and you don't really know the outcome. And for me, knowing the outcome was always a big thing. So it's a question now of looking at myself and, as Lisa said, using the tools. And one of the tools is to know that you have come through many changes before. Some you definitely did not want, like when my mother passed away suddenly. And even my son moving into his own place and scheduling a car between two persons and various small changes, which the first time I answered, you're looking for the big thing, but is almost like, where are the changes taking place? Where are the changes taking place that you have to adapt to the changes instead of just throwing up your hands and saying, I don't like change. And for me, I did not really like change. I used to pride myself boasting that I'm a Taurus people, and Taurus people are earth people, like the cow, it doesn't like to be moved, and when it has to be moved, all of that. So now I am saying, you got through all these things, you got through changes, and remembering many of the conversations that we have at Befitment, that if you don't want to change, you're going to rot. You're going to be left behind because the seasons change, the river is changing, everything is changing. And so, how do you propose to sit down and hold on to the notion that you don't like change? So, it's a question now of you don't have to like it, but is this for your best? And if it's for your best, how can you work inside of what is for your best and move along? So that's where I am now.
Okay. So speaking of where you are now, because we just want to guide everybody along the process, because of course everybody would not be at the same point. So, have you experienced instances where chaos distorted your self perception and decision making?
Yes, I think a lot of times, like, now that you know better, it's like when you let your ego run away with you. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you get so engrossed in what's going on and not stopping and taking the time to really process and analyze and ask your questions. You
Yes.
just let your mind wander and start thinking all sorts of stuff, and you think about one thing and then that adds on to something else and something else, and then before you know it, it's like, what, where am I, where is this starting point? So like I said before, I am a lot better at kind of slowing down and kind of trying to get to the root cause instead of like just allowing my mind to go haywire.
Okay. And are you now able to distinguish between temporary emotions and your identity?
I don't think I have that one down 100%. I mean, in temporary emotions, yes, in the sense that fleeting emotion, because which emotion is just response to something else, right? Respond to whatever you're feeling based on whatever situation is inflicting that feeling on you. So I think temporary emotions is something is all day, every day, and your true identity is standing in your truth and knowing how to come back to baseline and, like they say, be neutral. So it's a work in progress. It's definitely a work in progress.
And what do you do to stay grounded throughout all of it, even if you are experiencing chaos?
I think for me, um, telling myself that what I'm thinking is not true, right? And quieting myself and just, kind of bringing my emotions back to like neutral, if you want to say that. And if that means I have to do it 2 or 3 times a day and then just kind of repeating to yourself that, this isn't real, this isn't true, this isn't the truth, that helps, at least me.
I think one of the things for me is now understanding that The situation is really the situation. And going back again to your toolkit and the conversations we have, particularly during the week and the last week in particular, is a question of how are you going to handle this? Because whatever is happening. And it's not really happening to you. I could choose to take it as something that's happening to me, or I can choose to take it as something that is happening. For instance, on Friday evening, I wanted to go and get my hair done because I wanted to have my Saturday to do some other things. So I got it done on the Friday evening. And by the Saturday morning, I know I wanted to go with X, Y, and Z. But I'm looking in the mirror and I'm saying, why is my hair looking that color? Why does my hair look blue? It looks blue and brown. And I'm going from room to room that has a mirror and I'm saying something is not right here. I went in with pearly whites and I want pearly whites. And my hairdresser said, okay, come back and I could do it over for you. And I'm looking at the different things that I had scheduled for that day. And I said, you know what? This is not going to stay till Monday because this is not what I want. But I have other things to do. And so just figure out how you're going to address what could be what you would call a calamity. You could either put on a hat on your head and go out, or you have enough time to move. And then I remembered you have the skills to be able to fix this. And so all you need to do is just keep your timing, and all the spots that you have to hit, you will be able to hit and still take care of what was like a sudden emergency. And I did that. And I was able to meet all my other engagements and still get back my pearly whites. So I have back my pearly whites. They're no longer blue and brown. And so I did it by, first of all, not when I wanted to blame the hairdresser or get upset there, I said, no. Don't want to waste that time. And she has kindly offered to do it current, but you can't make that time. So, and you're not waiting until Monday. So don't use the energy at all on getting upset. Just use the energy on focusing what is the next step and how to fit the new thing in between everything else and shift it. So that I did, and I ended up managing to get every single thing. So I think I'm applying more and more of the techniques and particularly conversations we had last week. And the line that stood out for me in all the conversations is nothing is happening to you. Nothing. No matter how you think it is happening to you, it is just happening. It is not happening to you. Nothing is happening to you. If you're taking something on board, your ego is there. But no, you could go another direction. And that is what I'm applying this week coming here.
So I am recognizing that you all are now able to identify within the chaos who is responding. Is your true self responding or is your ego responding? So that is what you are now able to really identify and respond from, instead of just responding from whatever your usual pattern is. You know, which is a really good space to be, because usually, in times gone by, we would have responded from a lot of different places that would not have helped us in the long run. Because even sometimes you respond, and then after you might be feeling so drained, you feel miserable, you recognize that, listen, that wasn't even necessary. That wasn't even necessary. And sometimes we make a lot of mountains out of molehills. And even as Anastasia was speaking last week in terms of ensuring that you water in your garden, because a lot of times you stay so focused on everything else other than watering your garden and what is required for you. So it is really good that, we are now in a space where we can focus on our own garden. Because again, if you reply or you respond from a negative space, remember that is essentially what is coming back to you. And have you all been experiencing that in terms of you might have a negative response to something and you recognize that you get the results of it pretty quickly, and sometimes it is compounded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's compound.
Okay. So even as you move forward, you really need to ensure that you do not prolong it any longer than it needs to be, because then you might be experiencing the negative effects for way too long. As it relates to self awareness, can you all safely say that it has been strengthening your resilience, your confidence, and also your emotional regulation?
Yeah, I think now that you're aware, you can make more of a conscious decision,
Mm-hmm.
because you could kind of pinpoint what the problem, so to speak, is, and then deal with the problem. Whereas before it was like, you're not sure where the problem start, where it end, and you just get caught up in it. But now you could like sit and identify it and be like, okay, this is what this is, and then let
Mm-hmm.
me apply this to rectify this problem. And even if like, you're going through things and your mind just churning, at least for me now I have things that I could say to myself to help guide me back to that neutral
Mm-hmm.
space. Whereas before I didn't have that, and it would just be like you just going and going and going. But now I could really sit and talk to myself and be like, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a very kind of difficult question now. Are you able now to appreciate and understand the challenges or chaos when it appears? Or are you still lost in it initially and then after you recognize, okay, there is something that I need to learn from this?
I think to be honest, the truth is, that is what is being said, and that's the truth. But it still take you, some time to really process it and really accept that this is happening for my growth. Instead of like, oh my gosh, she's saying this, or look at this, what this one is doing. So, and that's kind of the thing, like, the tools, you're getting the message, you're understanding it. So now it's not like it's an overnight fix, but it's a gradual change compared to how you would have been before. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big difference. It's not like, okay, well, I have it down pack, but now I could identify it and then, put labels to it and recognize that, okay, let me see, and, I could understand this is happening for me, not to me. And then you'll be going, yeah, no, well, and then you keep telling yourself that. And then eventually you'll be like, oh, I get it. Before it's like you would go out of control.
Yeah, most definitely. Captain, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Yes, I find for me it is getting easier. So just look at myself more without the sense of having failed, without the sense of this calamity that if something wasn't wrong with me, so and so would not have happened. if I hadn't done something wrong, so and so would not have happened, or so and so would have happened. And so I am more at peace now with being able to say, you know, you could have made another choice, or you did your best
Mm-hmm.
under the circumstances without feeling as though I just went under somebody's foot, or I am such a, any of the names I would usually have called myself. So now it's like it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. If in the middle of the thing I didn't do every single thing, then I did probably what had to be done. And if there's more to be done, well, there's probably another time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the sense of downing on yourself and blaming yourself and looking at yourself even from the point of thinking that if you if you admit to something, even within yourself, that it would be weakness.
It really
So
is.
you don't want to, you're afraid to admit something to yourself because you're fighting up against what you know is really truth. So even for that, now I am better able to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm feeling a particular way, I'm able to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling. And then when you look at the why you're feeling like this or what is making you feel like this, sometimes you feel a little vulnerable to have to admit to yourself what you're really thinking or feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's getting better now to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and this is why, and therefore, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to go forward with this? As opposed to running and hiding and making all kinds of things which will just make things a little worse. So that for me is progress.
Yeah.
And it's on my list.
And do you all realize now that clarity really isn't found when life becomes quieter? It is developed for you to accurately see yourself even in the middle of all the chaos, because you're recognizing now, even though we may not appreciate it, but the chaos does have a lot of value. The challenges do have a lot of value because of the person that you are able to be transformed into because of it. While you're in it, you do not see it like that. But I know for us now, you might be able to see it a little bit clearer and make, some better decisions within it. But as it relates to previously, even as Catherine was explaining, when you see or you experience challenges, you're thinking calamity. This is the end of the world. When is this going to be over? But now, when you look back at it, you recognize you really don't learn much when life is quiet, You learn more during the difficulties, during the challenges, when everything happening all at once. And those are the times that we tend to not appreciate. And sometimes you even, because I went to a 5K on Sunday, and during the 5K, you went to sleep late, you have to get up early, and then you're walking, running this whole thing, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I should be on my bed. Why did I sign up for this? I'm not signing up for any more of these things. And you're going down the road, and then I had to stop myself and said, Adana, shut up. Look around, look at your environment, look at the trees, look at the fresh air. And you see, in that moment, you really have to bring yourself back, because it is so easy to lose yourself within all the thoughts. And within, this thing might be more difficult than I assumed it would be, and you're not supposed to have any expectations. And it is really because you went to sleep too late. So now you're tired. But now you're already here. So you have to do the 5K. And it's really important that you are able to see yourself clearly during the chaos. Because if you don't, you will just allow yourself to be consumed by whatever the environment is. And a lot of times the environment could end up taking control, and all the external things that are happening end up taking control instead of you saying no. You are where your feet are. Pay attention to the environment. Look at the trees. Then you start to pay attention to the other runners who having fun, who might be struggling a little bit. And you realize everybody just here to have the experience. And the experience is just the experience. And at the end of the experience, you are always more resilient because of it. But within it, you really have to be able to see yourself. And a lot of times, I know initially, when it just happens, you lose yourself a little bit. But what is important is that the fact that we are losing ourselves a lot less as the days go by. So you might be at 50% today, and then in a month's time, you might be at 40, 35%. But that is really what is important. Because I know for a lot of us right now, it seems as though a lot of things are happening all at once. And even within that, you really have to, and as soon as we have a topic and we discuss it, the challenge comes to ensure that the topic has been enforced and that you are able to practice. And sometimes it might be a topic from this week and a topic from 2 months ago. But even within it, I know that now you might be able to pause and say, now I understand what was said, and you might be able to refer to one of these sessions. But it is just important that you always remember, because I know now for a lot of us, we actually remembering now that you have a toolkit. Before you didn't used to remember at all. And you know that within yourself, you didn't used to remember. You just used to fall back into whatever the pattern was. But now you could identify, no, let me pause. Let me take a breath. This really is not worth my energy. If I send out this energy, I'm going to get it back. And you're realizing now you're getting the results, wanted and unwanted, even quicker. And I know even for myself, I can identify it and laugh when I experience it, because and it is also to ensure, and as Lisa was saying before, that you remain in a neutral space. You are affecting you. Nobody else is affecting you unless you allow them to. But essentially, you are affecting yourself. That is what it is. You are really affecting yourself day after day. Even if you think that it might be a neighbor, it might be a friend, it might be family, the only person really affecting you is you. And it is important that you remember yourself within everything that is being experienced. Because despite what you might feel about the challenge is still going to come if it needs to come to teach you whatever you need to learn. You feeling a particular way about the challenge is not going to stop the challenge from challenging you. But within it, you really have to ensure that you are able to challenge yourself. You know? So even as you look back in comparison to where you are now, what do you think is one of the most important things that you have been able to apply to your life?
I think for me, it's just being able to identify the emotions that I feel and not have my mind run out of control, because I'm the type of person that overthink, overprocess, overanalyze.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm able to you know, once I can talk to myself, take the tools, apply the tools, you know, and like Catherine was saying, be kind to myself, you know, because a lot of times you fall down, you slip up, and that was also me, and you beat yourself up. Well, I know this should be this and nice, and why can't I, you know? So it's just giving yourself grace, most importantly, because, you know, like they talk in the meetings, like you always put your best out for everybody else, but you don't apply your best to yourself.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the key things, you know, we have to cherish ourselves. You know, and that's another thing for me as a parent, as a single parent. I mean, I had to go through that like a couple of weeks ago of being able to let go and being able to allow my children to make the mistakes, because a lot of times you want to catch them, you want to support them, you know, and then really being honest with myself and saying to myself that I also enable them, and being able to release them and be okay with that, because for a lot of times we're not okay with that, but to be okay with that and, you know, trust that they'll be okay.
Yeah, they definitely would be okay. And I just wanted to share something. Do you all go on the app and read? Honestly.
No.
Okay. Thank you for being honest. All right. So, all right. I think Anastasia said yes. Okay. Um, I am asking because I know you would join for the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sessions, but let me tell you something. The stories and the write-ups, they really, really resonate. And what I am doing these days is, first thing when I get up in the morning, I might lie down a little bit. And then after, I would take up my phone, I would go in the app and I would start to read something. And it does really help you to maintain focus throughout the day and to be mindful about certain things throughout the day, because a lot of times, again, we tend to lose focus within it. So I just wanted to read something for you all from the app. And it is not just about the relationship between a parent and child, it could be the relationship between you and anything. Whereas the relationship, yes, it might be a bond, but it could really turn into bondage if you're not mindful, because that is what tends to happen to a lot of us. And even within that, we are unable to see ourselves clearly because of it. So while this would relate to the relationship between a parent and a child, it is really about bonds in general. And sometimes, you know, we bond ourselves or we attach ourselves to a lot of different things. And then within it, we tend to lose ourselves. So I just also wanted to encourage you to, you know, take a little read every day. It doesn't take long. It's probably like 5, 10 minutes. Just take a little read every day. So let me just show you. Of course, we have all the different topics. And for tonight, I wanted to read Better Parenting. And again, as I said, it is not necessarily about the relationship between you and a child, but it could be between you and whatever else you might be struggling with. The bond between parent and child is one of life's most powerful connections, but even the strongest bond can at times become bondage. The goal of parenting isn't to create lifelong independence. It is to raise someone who can stand confidently on their own while remaining connected through love and not obligation. And a lot of times we have relationships through obligation and connections through obligation instead of, you know, letting it be what it is. Well, I wouldn't read the story, but the story was about a woman who had a very unhealthy relationship with her mother. And because of it, the mother used to try to call her like all the time and want to just drop in all the time. And then she had to set boundaries for herself because she now had a daughter and she wanted to raise her daughter free and not perpetuate the same things that her mother used to perpetuate. So that is what the story was about. So let me just read the inspiration and motivation for you. The bond between parent and child is one of life's most powerful connections. It is primal, fierce, and enduring. From the first cry in the delivery room to the last hug before a college drop off, this connection shapes who we are and who we become. Yet, there is a fine line between a healthy attachment and an unhealthy entanglement. Even the strongest bond can at times become bondage. When love morphs into control, when protection turns into possession, and when a child's identity becomes an extension of the parent's ego, the very thing that was meant to nurture begins to suffocate. Recognizing this distinction is the cornerstone of wise parenting. And I will be jumping to the last paragraph. Independence means allowing your child to be who they are, not who you want them to be. It means allowing them to be distant when they need to find themselves. It means allowing them to be wrong, to be different, and to be independent. When we let our children be, we affirm that their existence is enough. They don't have to perform or achieve to earn our affection, they simply have to exist. Ultimately, the goal is to raise someone who can stand confidently on their own, knowing that their roots are deep and their foundation is solid. They should stay connected to you because they want to, not because they have to. They should visit you out of desire for your company, not out of a sense of duty. When we achieve this, we discover a beautiful paradox. By letting go, we actually keep them. We release the chains of obligation and replace them with the golden threads of genuine affection. The bond remains, but it is no longer a shackle. It is a tether of the heart, light enough to allow for flight, but strong enough to always guide them home. So let them go, let them stumble, let them soar, and simply let them be. And again, when you get up in the morning, before you reach for your phone, well, even if you reach for your phone, in this instance, reach for it, open the app, and just read a topic. Choose a topic and read it. It would certainly help you throughout the day. It really, really does help us. See, Anastasia, are you there?
Yes. Good
I
night.
see you putting a lot of thumbs up in the chat. So you usually read something every day?
Not every day, but at least every week, I make sure and read some 2 or 3 of the articles.
Okay. And they assist you. They help you. They help you
A,
see a different
a lot,
perspective.
a lot, a lot, a lot. And sometimes I leave comments too.
Yes, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I see the comments. I see the comments. Remember, guys, Befitment providing this support to really help you forward. And so sometimes you might just be feeling a little overwhelmed. You might be feeling weighty. You don't want to talk to anybody. Just read a topic. Because you might discover that the person you're reading the topic about is really you. Or the story you're reading the topic about is really you, and that is what you need for that day. So remember, take a read. And also, guys, feel free to invite your friends, invite family, invite whoever you might think needs the support. Again, I just always tell them you don't have to talk, you don't have to turn on your camera. You just have to log on. Because so many of us sometimes we don't even want to say anything, and then after we say something, you recognize everybody experiencing similar things. And that is why Befitment is here to offer the support and the guidance that you might require. And again, remember, when you are experiencing the chaos, clarity does not come when life becomes quieter. This is the opportunity for you to become quieter and practice what you need to practice. Yes, it is overwhelming. Yes, it feels like sometimes the boat taking on water. Yes, it feels like when the boat taking on water, there is a storm coming, there is everything else happening, but it is also the opportunity for you to practice. And another question before we end, what has your practice changed to? And what did you use to practice before? How is your practice going? Are you going back to default? Are you allowing some of the weeds to regrow and the vines to get thicker? Are you able to stay focused? What have you been practicing lately?
Adana, I am trying my utmost best not to let weeds grow and to attend to my garden. This journey needs a lot of self awareness in order for you to function the way you have to function.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things just happen in a snap.
Mm-hmm.
And I telling you, if you don't practice the little breath to regulate yourself in the snapping of the moment, you can go back to default. It has happened to me, you know.
Yeah.
It has happened to me. And I say, girl, you have to try and practice your little breath. Take it 30 seconds. And in between the 30 seconds, talk to yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the feelings here, what? Just be the observer of it. You don't have to act on it.
Exactly. Yep.
No emotions don't have to come in there. Just observe the feeling and let it go. And how long for the longest it has lasted is how much? 90 seconds?
Yes.
Yes. Start to count and let it just go its way. You do not have to act upon the feelings. But it take a lot of self-awareness. You have to be always in the present. You cannot have your mind strain all over the place, you
Yes.
know,
Mm-hmm.
in order for that to become your norm,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes, you have to practice being so aware. You have to notice your triggers as well. Because it have certain things that just do bother you. And then you have to know what it is that's trigger you and be mindful of it. So when you see it coming your way, all right, start a count, get yourself regulated. Yeah, but it's all good. It's all good. I see an improvement in myself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it is all good. Even when I go back to default, it's all good too. It just mean here what you have a little bit more work to do.
Yes.
You
But
know?
when you go back to default, do you spend the same amount of time there?
No.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
You
Yeah.
are able to
So
recover a lot faster.
right. So growth happening.
Yes. Definitely, definitely,
Mm.
definitely. Anyone else? What have you been practicing now in comparison to what have you practiced before now?
To just be a little bit more, as Anastasia was saying, in tune, in tune with myself. What am I feeling? What is behind it? Sometimes I have to challenge it, say, no, 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 no. You make up that one. You make up that one. That is not real. You make up that.
Mm-hmm.
So put that one down. And then you go back through there's no one but you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you shift your perception, things will look a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep working, as Anastasia says, you really have to be in it all the time. And I know for a fact I'm not in it all the time, but I'm spending less time in
Yes.
the whirling. I'm working on where my feet, what am I thinking, what is my name, all the little techniques to sort of snap you. And then, you just, if it's a person, I'm working on let people be, let people be, let people be, just let people be, to help me keep my mind on my business essentially, because I want to really. I'm listening to you every time you're counting down the weeks to go, and I'm saying my list I have to accomplish, and I will not be able to accomplish it if I am minding other people's business. So is really, I think now is, if I could say it like this, is you know better. You know better. So are you letting down yourself by going back the old way or hankering for the old way when you know better? So you quickly recognize that you didn't really, not 100% where you were supposed to go, but like Anastasia say, if you recognize that you didn't go where you were supposed to go, that's also good, because you recognize that, okay, old way, new way, there's another way. So that is what I am working on. That is what I am working on.
Okay. Anastasia?
Yes, with the self-regulation,
Mm-hmm.
I I am mindful that I do not want to, what I should say, run away from my challenges.
Right.
I am trying that I don't want my self-regulation to be like how I used to be, where I have things to address and I am not addressing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to be like, you want to regulate yourself so much that you're just sweeping things underneath the carpet. I want to be able to address things. I want to be able to live my truth.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a little tricky for me because coming out from being treated and all kind of thing and not saying anything and just leaving it alone until it become a multi-headed monster, and then afterwards then okay, just the little straw might fall and break the camel back and mess all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to come out of that, and I want to be able to be regulated but addressing my issues,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want addressing my issue to be messy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like how it used to be. You know,
Right.
I don't want it to be messy. So that is a little tricky, but I will get to where I have to get to. Where addressing my issues will be what should be addressed, what could leave that alone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is the challenging area for me.
Anastasia, let me tell you something. All you have to know is be clear on what you want. You know that if I tell you, you could speak it, speak it. Remember when you speak it, everything listening. I would like to have a conversation with LMNOP to speak about ABCDEFG. Allow the opportunity. And I tell you, that opportunity would come so seamless, so effortless. The two parties would understand and you would go away from it and you would even shock yourself to know that it was so easy. I am telling you, just know what you want, speak it. So everything knows what you want as well. And ask for the opportunity. And I am telling you, Anastasia, when that opportunity presents itself, you would shock yourself and you would be shocked to know the person's response as well. You might think it's magic, but it's not. I'm seeing that you're happy.
I was gonna say almost the same thing to Anastasia, because when you're in saying that you don't want something, you're actually focusing on that.
Mhm.
So you're focusing more on what you don't want, and you're not leaving the space for how the thing's supposed to really flow. So if mess is required from a neutral space, mess it is.
Mhm.
But I say you don't want it to be messy. Your bank, you're literally saving money in the bank. It will be messy. Because you defining it as opposed to letting say, okay, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to see come out of this. And then, so if it has to be messy, because I think sometimes for me, I know that in the past, you would want things to be perfect. You want things to be clean. You want things to be not messy. And you're learning now that that is not the way life really works.
Yeah.
And the mess is also there to help you. You know, sometimes when you say when you dream that you're handling a lot of human faces, you get up in the morning and you ask your grandma, you say, well, you'll get money, money coming. So sometimes mess is what it is because mess might help the other person as well to understand, okay, this is really true now. This is truth. So yeah, so but I know we are making progress.
Yes, most
I know.
definitely. Nicola, are you there? I saw that you had your hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, Adan and even Catherine, in terms of wanting to have the conversations as well and allowing it to flow and not trying to take control of it. Because recently I had an experience where I think it was this Saturday I was driving on the highway and I was having the conversation. I was like, I want to have this conversation. This is what I want out of the conversation. This is the information that I want to find out. And normally I'm the type of person that I want to have the conversation, so I need to control it. So I need to decide that, okay, I go in and start the conversation. And then in practicing something new, I was like, no, Nicola, allow the conversation to happen whenever it is to happen, right? Just be present, be there, and let the conversation flow however it is to flow. And I kid you not, the conversation happened the next day without I even saying anything. The person asked the question, and that's how I got the information that I wanted, or whatever. So sometimes it's a matter of, and as Catherine was saying, don't hold on to what we want it to be. Allow it to be how it's supposed to be. And it just flows so seamless. Because in the middle of the conversation, I was like, just yesterday, I was asking to have this conversation. It shocked me and all. How quick it happened and how seamless the conversation happened and the information that I get. So, yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Yes, Anastasia, I'm seeing that you have your hand raised.
Right. So in a nutshell, ask for what I want as opposed to what talking about what I don't want.
Yes,
All right.
yes. And I tell you, you would shock even yourself when you get the when you see how effortless everything comes off. You would be amazed. You would certainly be amazed. All right, guys. You know, it is really interesting now to have a conversation in comparison to where we were previous years. To know that now everybody, you know, they are becoming more aware. I know there are instances where people used to forget the tools altogether. Probably you might remember it 2 days after. And now, you know, we are in a different space. And even as you are in a different space, try to maintain yourself in that space. Remember, you are building, we are always building, but it is what exactly are you building? Ensure that you are building what you would like to experience. Even though you might be experiencing something you do not like right now, it will not be forever. Allow the experience to be the experience and allow the teacher to teach. Be the observer. And as Sylvia says, sometimes you don't need to be involved, you can observe. Be the student, learn the lesson, and do not be consumed. And just continue allowing life to be what it is. So let me let you all know what the topics are for this week at the Balance Center. So tonight we discuss seeing yourself clearly during chaos, and tomorrow 10 a.m. we have counseling and consultations, and then from 6 We would be looking at meeting your inner world, understanding your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Then from 7, we have our fuel and flexible body workout sessions. On Wednesday, we have counseling and consultations from 10. And then from 6, we would be looking at discovering the author behind your story. So here we would be discussing redefining the invisible stories that shape your decisions. On Thursday, we have counseling and consultations from 10. And then from 6, we would be looking at living with intentional awareness. So here we would be discussing how to become the designer of your inner life. And from 7 again, we have our fuel and flex full body workout session. On Friday, we have a private yoga and meditation from 10. And from 3, we have free to be, where we release, relax, restore, and unwind. Of course, by appointments only. If you are interested, let us know. And then on Saturday, we have counseling and consultations from 10. And then from 3, we are closed. And we have an activity coming up on the 22nd of August. We will be going to the Maracas waterfall. So if you are interested, adults are $100, kids $60, and you can WhatsApp hike to 3361809 to register. The difficulty level is very low though, and it is a 3 out of 10. If you are not in Trinidad at this time, do not worry. Befitment will be in a country near you very soon. So do not worry. And I hope when we end up in your country, you make time and you come to whatever activity or event that we have. And you might decide, no, well, I have something to do. Then you might have to wait really long again. So guys, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Anastasia, I hope I could see you. We will be, yeah. Anastasia, you could come and go on the hike.
You would not be seeing me. Hi. No.
Don't worry, we have some other things coming up that are not hike related. So I would share them with you soon, and I hope to see you at that one. I think it would be something you would enjoy, because Trinidad does have a lot of other things. So I would share it with you as soon as I am able to. Things that are not hike related, we might go and do a tour somewhere of something. So I would let you all know as soon as it is finalized. Guys, remember, when you get up in the morning, you can still ask yourself, what is required for you today? Open the app and then read something. And then from the story, you would know. You would get the answer to what is required for you today. So remember, you get up in the morning, what is required for you today? Open the app, read a topic, get your answer, proceed with your day. Have an enjoyable day. Guys, have an enjoyable week. Be mindful. Get some rest. These days are very hot. Ensure that you stay hydrated. See some of you tomorrow. See the rest of you next week, Monday. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a safe week.